mirror on the wall. Who is the deceptor amongst us all? This is one unvarying question asked by the judiciary, whether it is 2006 Malegaon bomb blast case or Telgi stamp paper scam or Nithari serial murder case. The nature of crime has evolved over history, and so have the tools and methods to identify criminals. With criminals becoming futuristic and adopting smarter solutions to escape the justice system, existing physical investigative techniques like fingerprint analysis and question documents have shortcomings. The police find it extremely difficult to identify the deceptor with no conclusive information or reliable eyewitness due to human nature of denying an offense. The need to detect deception has been a constant pursuit of the humankind so as to make the world a safer place. A quote from Ayurveda in 900 BC emphasizes that people's interest in detecting the dangerous other is long standing. A person who gives poison may be recognized. He does not answer questions or their evasive answers. He speaks nonsense, rubs the great toe along the ground, and shivers. His face is discolored. He rubs the roots of the hair with his fingers, and he tries by every means to leave the house. Deception detection has gained momentum with concerns about international terrorism and cybersecurity, which has led researchers to explore about how to detect lies about future intentions. This has sparked the interests of forensic psychologists who have been exploring psychological and behavioral differences between liars and truth tellers, as well as ways to improve detection accuracy. In a forensic setup, deception is referred to as an intentional effort by an individual to suppress revelation of facts known to him by hiding facts, presenting lies, or misleading information. In a forensic scenario, a fact is a truth known to the person, the disclosure of which will lead to self incrimination and punishment. In simple words, deception involves acting in such a way which leads another person to believe something that you yourself do not believe to be true. To explain deception further, let me narrate to you an amazing story from the fable The Arabian Nights. A husband learns about his wife's love affair from his pet parrot. When the wife learns that the parrot revealed her secret, she asks her maid to trick the parrot by sprinkling water and grinding stones near its cage. The next day, the husband asks the parrot, "Dear parrot, what happened during my absence?" To which the parrot tells the husband about the rain and the hailstorm. The husband said, "Where was there, even in a dream, rain or lightning last night? You have utterly ruined my house and ancient family. My wife is the most virtuous woman of the age, and all your accusations of her are lies." So, in his wrath, he killed the parrot, and the wife successfully covered up her act by presenting false evidence and altering reality. Here, I quote the warning of Charles Baudelaire. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. The deceptor, like the devil, operates stealthily by his self motivated actions and achieves his target by hiding his existence. For a forensic psychologist, the daring part of the work is to rightfully identify deception while dealing with an accused of a crime. The accused often tends to deceive the investigative agency in order to protect himself from being incarcerated. History is replete with examples of the techniques used to reveal the man behind the curtain and read the mind of the suspect to identify deception. In India, superstition swayed the minds of people in the Middle Ages. It was the rule to undergo an ordeal to prove their innocence if suspected of crime. The rationale of the ordeal was based on the belief that God would not let a righteous man suffer from injustice. The judge would not even look for suspicious evidence of the suspect, for apparently the psychology of detection of deception did not exist. Two such examples have been very surprising to me. Trial by hot iron, where the accused had to prove his innocence by applying his tongue to a red hot iron 9 times. If burned, he was put to death. The logic being a liar would have a dry mouth and tongue, which would burn easily. The second one is trial by the sacred ass. The suspect is required to enter a dark tent and told to pull the tail of the donkey, which is covered in black soot. When the suspect comes out with dirty hands, he is presumed to be innocent, as he is not afraid to pull the donkey's tail because he did not commit any wrong. But if a person comes out of the tent with a clean hand, he is presumed to be guilty as he is afraid to pull the donkey's tail, a manifestation of guilt at that time. As you can see, people gradually believed and understood that guilt or innocence of a person could not be detected using various experiments based on magic or divine force. Historic methods were non scientific, leading to incorrect decisions. Traditional police training in deception detection assumed liars will exhibit stress based behavioral cues such as posture shifts, gaze aversion, foot and hand movements. However, in reality, there really is no Pinocchio's nose, implying these body movements incorporate methodological deficiencies to detect deception. In the 1960s, Ekman's leakage theory has gained impetus in suggesting that liars experience specific emotions that could reveal their mental state through brief facial expression, also known as micro expressions. The facial action coding system, which when combined with speech measures, reaches detection accuracy rates up to 90% as claimed by Ekman. Looking at people for visual cues proved to be dissembling. So forensic psychologists started understanding the need for psychophysiological detection of deception examination, presuming that there is behavioral control and cognitive load required to deceive successfully. The Blackstone's ratio, which says it is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent suffers. It gains utmost significance in the judiciary during criminal investigation. Scientific techniques are more reliable as they are based on testified facts and governed by sensitivity and specificity, that is, the ability of a measure to detect the presence or absence of a specific condition and thus differentiate between the innocent and the deceptor. The polygraph, also known as lie detector, is the oldest instrument used in criminal investigation. The operational definition of polygraph is a scientific tool that helps in the determination of deception based on recording and analysis of autonomic peripheral nervous system arousal, such as changes in blood pressure, pulse, respiration, and electrodermal responses due to stress, fear, anxiety induced by lying. In India, the CBI sent the suspects of the Vyapam admission scam to lie detection test, and this case brought into spotlight the importance of scientific evidence and its admissibility in the court of law. Researchers from 1999 to 2006 have denoted the sensitivity of the lie detector in skilled hands to be approximately 80% and specificity to be approximately 70%. The suspect detection system, a screening instrument for airports and crime investigation, is known as an automated polygraph. With one hand inserted into a sensor that monitors autonomic peripheral nervous system arousal of sweating, the suspects answer the question displayed on the screen. The system achieves results as accurate as 4% false positive and negligible false negative results. Voice-based lie detection tests detect changes in our voice provoked by autonomic nervous system arousal of voice stress. This is reflected by fluctuations in intensity, frequency, harmonics, and microtremor. It is a screening instrument used for military situations and crime investigation. There is more evidence-based research taking place to strengthen the outcome of the voice-based detection of deception. Narcoanalysis is another technique of detection of deception, where the subject is injected with a drug, sodium pentothal, also known as truth serum. The drug depresses the central nervous system, induces trance-like state, lowers the suspect's inhibitions, and encourages them to talk more freely without any manipulation while he's being interrogated. In India, narco-analysis was first used in 2002 in the Godhra riot case. There is a school of thought that has observed that statements made by suspects in such a condition of trance may give false or misleading answers. It has also been noted that some suspects of narco-analysis can become extremely suggestible to questioning, while others might concoct fanciful stories. Just as there is more than one way to kill a cat, so there are many ways to catch a liar. Word association tests and projective techniques have been favored by the American Psychological Association, especially in the use of detecting deception in pre employment screening. Since the onset of neuroscience, distinctive views on the possibility of detecting lies by measuring brain activities through tools such as fMRI, PET scans, and brain profiling have emerged, which focus on the activity of the central nervous system and not the autonomic peripheral nervous system. The theory is that the brain processes experiential information and deception differently compared to any other information for which the suspect does not have any experiential knowledge. Brain profiling has been successful in detection of deception in cases of Malegaon bomb blast case, Gauri Lankesh murder, and Unnao rape case. The tools have been identified to have a sensitivity of 91% and specificity of 94%. In summary, researchers, forensic psychologists have identified three major variables that help in detection of deception. First, the response seen in the brain to the detection of a crime related stimulus. Second, the effects of a response selection seen in the brain when the individual must deploy additional brain resources for inventing and giving an alternate response instead of giving out the truth, which can be accomplished with significantly fewer brain resources. Third, the emotional effects seen in the autonomic nervous system functioning when one intentionally suppresses emotions by giving a deceptive response to a self incriminating question. I want to conclude my talk with the words of Walter Scott. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. Since man has been on earth, he has fashioned various devices to read the mind of the suspect, and hopefully now forensic psychologists are close to reading the mind of the suspect. Thank you, everyone.